Greetings, dear listeners and watchers. You are
Woo!
listening slash watching Horror Nerds at Church, a ridiculously queer podcast where we take a deep dive into a horror film and talk about how it connects to queerness, religion, and theology. I'm Pastor Emily, and I am team All Droids Go to Heaven for life.
And my name is Pace Warfield, and I am wearing my Treat Yourself merch because I'm on a writing retreat. So,
Oh, I should be talking. Sorry. Sorry, whoops, I should be talking. I am Suzannah, and I'm just the tech for this, but
I love it.
Ooh.
We're,
I love it. I
we're
love it.
but um, just to be abundantly clear, there is no just
Weird.
about you being tech. You are a valuable member of the team. For those of you listening, you can, if you want to support us, if you're inspired by this episode, you can follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/horror nerds at church. It starts at only $5 to sign up. And dropping this month on Patreon, you'll be getting our movie commentary on the film Spaceballs. You will be getting June/July for all this, to be clear. Um, you will be getting an episode with Kay Roloff and Rory Roloff on Close Encounters of the Third Kind for our horror buff tier, which is our $10 tier.
Mhm.
So, and you'll also be getting an episode on Andor for Boottube for every tier. So, lots of cool stuff coming out this month and next month. Check out our show notes. I'll put for our at-home listeners on the podcast, check out our show notes for any content warnings that might come up for this episode.
Mhm. And as ever, we are an after hours podcast, so please note that there may be adult language and adult themes, and there's definitely adult drinks.
Yeah, what are you drinking, Emily?
I am drinking inspired by Brooke Chantel McLean, aka Brooke McLean, our guest from our episode on The Last Jedi. I am drinking Leia's lightsaber, which is spectacular, let me just tell you.
I love it.
What about you, Pace?
I am drinking Smirnoff Ice Green Apple, which tonight I'm calling Luke's lightsaber because it is colored green. So you have the siblings represented on the show tonight.
And Luke would totally drink a Smirnoff ice.
Oh, totally.
Wonderful, wonderful.
wait, I am drinking whatever Emily gave me, which I am going to call Blue Buns.
Blue buns work because it's Leia's lightsaber, so keeping it all in the family.
Mm.
So what have you been up to, Pace?
Well, today is day 2 of my writing retreat in the mountains of North Carolina. It's very gorgeous. You may be able to see it behind me, but it's also very bright. But
Hmm.
I try to come out here once a year to work on my dissertation, just to have some time on myself. When I finish my dissertation, I'll probably still want to come out like once a year just for some time to relax in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm up to this week, aside from being here for an episode of HNAC. Woo.
Whoop, whoop. Yeah.
What about you?
I have been up to two puppies. Yes, two. We adopted Athena, who is 3 months old, and then adopted Bailey, who is 3 years old. And Bailey is the chillest of chill pups, and I think is on the screen now for those of you watching this on Facebook Live. She is ginormous and the chillest of chill pups, and Athena is 3 months old, so itty bitty and going to be big. and her personality is ginormous. So we have been working on crate training, and she still has not a giant bladder, and so, couch sleeping at night and all the things, but they are getting along great, and Bailey had some fun getting to know her her kitten sisters, a little bit more today. So it's just, oh,
I
spectacular.
love it. I would say I miss puppy life, but I don't actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it, puppy life is like newborn life, infant life, but with teeth, energy, and mobility.
Yeah.
It's it it's a choice.
Yep. Yep. I did get to meet them though, so that's also a little bit of what I've been up to is on
Mm-mm.
Friday, I got to hang out with Emily and all of their housemates, including Susanna and Brooke and Matt and Annie and all the other cool people. And I got to meet Bailey and I got to meet Athena. And they
Mm-mm.
truly are as adorable as Emily has been saying that they are.
They really are. They have inspired us, to get everything from walkie-talkies so we can actually communicate in real time, to, making space in the house and in our rooms for furry four-legged creatures. It's
Mm.
delightful and exhausting. Yeah. Yep, yep.
Have you been reading or watching anything lately? This is for
Um,
all you too, Susanna.
right. I watched Coco in Spanish the other day because I had something I needed to speak Spanish for, and I was like, I haven't been doing this in a bit, since like Easter. So I watched it just to get it back in my head. But other than that, just kind of digging into Doctor Who, which Athena and I are Doctor Who buddies. So she's getting to love the show as well. And I'm now on Cress, which is the third of the Lunar Chronicles books. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to start the Leia trilogy soon once I
Oh,
finish the Lunar Chronicles.
yay. I'm excited for you
Mhm.
to read them as well.
What about you?
Um, I have been watching Doctor Who. I purchased on Blu-ray um the first season of the Fourth Doctor. So I'm watching
Mm.
those on Blu-ray. I did that in anticipation of being out here since there's a Blu-ray player but no smart TVs.
Mm.
So but I'm loving it. That's still one of such a fantastic season.
Mhm.
Beyond that, I've been watching a little bit of horror movies. Uh But very kind of cool this past week is my Living Lutheran article came out, which
Yes, I forgot. I was going to mention it if you didn't. So I'm glad you did. Okay, I will promo you because you're you and I love you.
yes,
Pace wrote an article for the Living Lutheran about horror and theology and all the wonderful things that we talk about so frequently on this podcast. And so now Pace is also a member of the Horror Writers of America, right? Did I do
Horror
it?
Writers Association, not of America,
Association. I was wondering, I was like, America doesn't seem right. So Pace is now part of the Horror Writers Association,
as an
and Living
affiliate. Yeah.
Lutheran is now, I think, an online only publication. So we can link to that in the show notes so that you can read the article. But we are super excited that Pace got to share the gospel of horror theology and all good things with
And
a bunch of
HNEC.
Lutherans.
Yep. So yeah, HNEC gets a shout out in it, but also two of our past guests I quoted Lee Murray, who and Ben Monroe, both of whom are members of Horror Writers Association, which
Yes.
proves that's not America because Lee Murray is from New Zealand.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
so that's
Nice.
really cool.
that 12 to 16 weeks for German Shepherd puppies is so important. They have to be socialized, they have to try all new things, they have to try different surfaces, they have to taste different things, they have to do all this stuff. And so it's really important that I get all that right. I feel a lot of pressure about it, especially since, puppies aren't really supposed to be out anywhere where other puppies are until they've had their third distemper shot. And then German Shepherds also have this super smaller window, so it's just 2 weeks of all puppy all the time.
Nobody can hear you.
Why can't you hear me? You can hear me. I just did it. What? I fixed it. It should be fixed. I'm sorry.
River said that no one can hear you.
I think I have fixed
But
it.
it was working until you started talking.
It should be fixed now. It should be fixed now,
Yeah.
from what I can tell. I'll double check. Monitor and output. Monitor and output. Yeah, it should be fixed now. So it's good, and the puppers are doing well, and that's all I've been watching is puppy all the time.
I love it. Wunderbar. So, as a as a little bit of a roadmap for what this our retrospectives are super fun. We love doing them. We do them at the end of every season. But it's they're
I have to say, Pace, I'm sorry. I have to interrupt. It is less of a roadmap than we're charting the course for a hyperspace jump.
Okay, there we go. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Emily, for bringing the Star Wars puns and connections as always. So yeah, we're charting our jump through hyperspace. We're gonna try to make that Kessel Run in even less parsecs than the Millennium Falcon did. But probably not, because these episodes tend to be longer, but because they're so fun, because we talk about we rank our favorite movies. We're also doing character tracing. We play a game in there based on our one sentence summaries. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Super exciting. Speaking of which, our first character tracing is, of course, the best droid ever. R2-D2, my love, my life in the robotic android world. So I love R2-D2. R2-D2 is my favorite droid, is wonderful, is all of the things. And it's fun to trace them, particularly in release order, because in the original trilogy, as we talked about in our episode on the first one, R2 and C-3PO are a MacGuffin for the storyline. So they are the way that the storyline moves through things. And George Lucas says what we all already knew. So is it him retconning to be in alignment with us, or is it true? I don't know. But his original intent was for the original Star Wars to follow R2-D2 and C-3PO. So I do truly think that R2-D2 is the protagonist of the entire series, really. Especially the very first movie, but I think throughout it all. Also, I think that this is where we get into the dilemma of sentience, non-sentience, possession, ability to live your own life. R2-D2 is Padme's gift to Anakin, which is,
Yeah.
major eye roll there. And occurs before she gets all suspicious and scared that he's turning to the dark side and going to kill everybody, including her.
I do want to say, though, that when you were asking if George Lucas was retconning it based off of fans, one of his favorite movies that was a direct inspiration for Star Wars is Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress, which came out in 1958. And he said that Star Wars is heavily inspired by this movie. It's about these two peasants who are unknowingly caught in a war and end up accidentally helping the princess. And so the two droids, C-3PO
Mm.
and R2-D2, are directly modeled off of those peasant characters who are unwittingly caught up in this war, and end up helping save the day.
Okay. That tracks. That tracks. So, unlike the other times that he has retconned things to say that he always thought of it that way, this one
Yeah.
maybe he actually did. Fair, fair. Um, but I also the other thing that I love, so R2D2 and C3PO are two characters who we see throughout all three trilogies. And I love that in R2 in the sequel trilogy for a little bit there, R2 just takes a Sabbath. He has
Right.
done so much freaking work to help the rebel to help the rebellion, to help the resistance, to get folks going in the right direction because of course he is chaotic good as you can see in our Star Wars droid alignment chart that we made back in May the 4th be with you.
Yep.
And I just love that like he's doing all this work and then he still takes time for a Sabbath, a sabbatical. And I think that is a really good model for certainly all of us in this Zoom, but probably all of us watching or hearing this in general.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I firmly believe from what he has done and said, and from a certain point of view stuff, that R2D2 is not only sentient and like independent in his own right, but also force sensitive. He
Yeah.
has a particular intuition, he has a particular sense of when to be in different places and when to do different things that cannot be explained otherwise.
Agreed. Agreed.
Also,
Um,
he's my favorite, so
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, so I didn't time it right for Emily to open it up on air like we did last retrospective, but it worked out for the better because I was able to deliver it to them in person. But the commemorative pop for this season is, of course,
Mm.
R2D2, a
Hang on,
rainbow.
I'll go grab it.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'll just say that R2D2 also appears in the Star Wars vintage show Droids, which we didn't cover for Ubuntu, but if you want us to in the future, we definitely can. As Emily alluded to, he shows up and from a certain point of view quite a bit. Um,
Wait, he's in what show that we didn't cover?
Star Wars Vintage Droids, the cartoon.
I haven't seen that one. This
You can watch
is
it on Disney Plus. Yep,
my R2D2 with a little bounty head, and it's like rainbow pride R2D2,
it's
which
Pride
is so
R2D2.
perfect because they are like so profoundly non-binary. It's not even funny, except it's delightful.
Yes, 100%. And C3PO and R2D2 totally have a Bert and Ernie level of relationship.
For sure, for sure. Also, the other thing that Pace got me because um copyright stuff is made up bullshit. Um, is this drawing of my merch idea, which is all droids go to heaven. Original artwork from Pace.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
Um,
continue.
Now we'll switch to ranking the shows. So this is a perk that any person who is a member of our Patreon horror buff or horror nerd, so any level, any tier, gets access to our boob tubes, which when we're have a season going, they come out every month along with the season and tied to the season somehow. So this being Star Wars and Aliens season 6, we did all Star Wars shows because there's like 1.5 million. And we
Mhm.
didn't sadly cover all of them. Like Star Wars Droids is one we didn't get to cover, but we covered Ahsoka, Andor, Clone Wars, Rebels, and Obi-Wan. So I want us to do our favorite style of ranking, which we get from Matt Gorley's James Bonding podcast, which is Emily will say what their favorite or from least to most favorite show is, then I'll say mine, and we'll just say it, no talking about it until till one of the films or shows is said by both of us, and then at that point we'll talk about it, and it'll also be entered into the official ranking of the podcast of how we rate.
Ah,
So
indeed.
start us away, Emily, with your least favorite of the shows we watched this season.
Clone Wars. I mean, to be fair, the
No, talk
episodes.
about it.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I forgot that you hadn't said yours yet.
Clone Wars for me as well. So this is our fifth favorite out of the shows we've covered. So
And
now go
to
for it.
Okay, to be fair, the episodes that we picked of Clone Wars were good, and the episodes that I watched were like not bad. The other shows I just liked more. And also I didn't watch all of the episodes because Pace made the most amazing chart of like if you're going to be intentional about watching Clone Wars and you don't want to burn out on terrible Clone Wars shows, these are the ones to watch, which was great. The next step will be somehow figuring out what the actual order they're supposed to be watching is because I still don't understand how it's fine to do like this person gets arrested and put in jail and then busts out and does this thing, but have the busting out before the getting put in jail.
Yeah.
It does not compute.
StarWars.com has an official chronological episode list, which
Mm,
it's a pain in the butt to watch chronologically because it jumps seasons and stuff. It's just like it's
yep.
hard.
Yeah.
Um, so what is your
Do
next?
you not have anything to say about Clone Wars?
I did agree with you. The animation sucks. That's the main thing. Like the stories are fun, but I am not like super into military stories. Like, granted,
Yeah.
Star Wars, I get it. War is a big part of Star Wars. These are just like very like makes me think of so many like war TV shows and stuff, and it's like it has its place in Star Wars, but just not my personal favorite. But I know it's a fan favorite for many people because of Ahsoka. We all love her. It's true.
Yeah, we do. It's true. She is the best thing about Clone Wars. What is your next least favorite?
Rebels.
Me too. I picked Rebels.
So we could talk about it now. For this one, I guess I'll start, which is I love Rebels from beginning to end. It's a really fun show. Um,
Hmm.
really all the Star Wars shows we're covering, I do love. So like they're none of them are bad.
Yeah.
But Rebels just uh the shows that are above this, I love even more than Rebels. Even though
Mhm.
Rebels,
Yeah, I really like Rebels. It was really fun. I really like the characters. I like the characters even more because of their reappearance in Ahsoka, and so like to be able to see them in a live action as well, and the way that they made them actually come to life, um, was fantastic. So hard agree there.
hmm. Um, so then what is your third favorite? Third place.
Andor.
Same for me. So third place for the podcast is Andor.
Woot woot. And this one I feel bad because I haven't rewatched it for our podcast episode because we haven't recorded it yet. Um, so I feel a little bad because part of the ranking is that it's not as fresh in my mind, so I don't have like, oh, I loved this about it kind of stuff, but I know I love the character Andor and I love getting into the backstory and the way that they actually like have a diversity of languages and cultures and how that plays out in it is really cool. So,
Mhm. I love Andor for all those things as well. I love how a lot of people complained about the prequel trilogy, how it was so focused on politics. And I get that a little bit, but still I like the prequel trilogy in some ways and in other ways I don't. But with Andor, I love how politics is a thread line that keeps coming up because it follows Mon Mothma in her early career. Um, and that's just really cool. And also
Mhm.
then having the action adventure stuff with Andor and the espionage stuff as he slowly starts working towards the rebellion and stuff. And then also for all the same reasons Emily said, I love it as well.
Mhm. I just have to insert that if we were including The Mandalorian, it would probably go here because of Grogu.
Okay.
He brings it to a whole new level.
I'm not even going to start saying all the shows I wish we could have covered because and where they would go, but
That's
understand.
fair, but Baby
Acolyte,
Yoda.
I think might be my favorite, even more than any of the ones we've covered. So, but it's still happening, so I don't know how it will end yet. So
That's fair.
anyway, what about number 2 for you?
You go first this time. I went first last time.
So my second favorite is Ahsoka.
My second favorite is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Love it. So I guess you will know which our number ones are and also what is tied in first place for our podcast.
My number one is Ahsoka.
And mine is Obi-Wan.
Woo! So do we talk about Ahsoka first because I named it first?
Go for it. Yes.
Okay, I love Ahsoka because Ahsoka is amazing and a fantastic character. And there's a lot that this was really hard. This was a really, really hard choice. The other one with the movies, the first choice was easy peasy mac and cheesy, which
Yeah.
I have for dinner tonight. Um, but this one was really hard because Ahsoka is so wonderful, and I really love the relationship between her and Sabine and how they navigate all the things. And navigate them as imperfect people who are full people. Not full humans, because, not human, but full people with complications and trauma and all of the things. So, yeah, Ahsoka.
Yeah. I love Ahsoka too. For all the same reasons as Emily. And it also feels kind of like a sequel to Star Wars Rebels, which I love. And I
Mhm.
love Ahsoka having a live action appearance in Mandalorian, which kind of set up the show. And like
Yeah.
it's just really cool. Rosario Dawson's amazing. But the reason Obi-Wan is first for me though is simply because I fucking love Obi-Wan Kenobi and I fucking love Princess Leia. And the two of them together are amazing.
It's
Uh,
true.
and also the subplot with the sister, the Red Blade sister is very cool and her character.
Mhm.
So just really love it from beginning to end.
I agree. I particularly love Princess Leia. She is uh, like, there are no words. And that the kid, Vivian Lyra Blair, is phenomenal.
Right?
Phenomenal. Like, there are no words for how amazing she is.
Yeah.
And Reva Savander, so Reva, who is the sister that you're talking about, played by Moses Ingram, spectacular. Like, the
Um,
cast and the crew were just so,
right?
so amazing.
And
Yeah.
having like what I
And
watched it
even like,
live. I'll go
what?
ahead. I was just gonna say I was watching it live as it was coming out. And so like
Mm,
I knew that Hayden Christensen was coming back as Anakin, but I didn't know that he would actually like come back. I thought it was just to play Darth Vader, but the flashback scene with him is cool and I love him as an actor and
minus the anti-aging, which was terrible.
it's terrible. But I love that he came back. But also the surprise, like no one knew that at the very end Liam Neeson would reprise his role as Qui-Gon and just have that. So that was like a complete surprise, and it was so good. I love
Yeah.
him.
I also really loved Indira Varma, who played Tala Durith.
Yeah,
Such a good job of like, do you like those moments where it's like, wait, wait, what? Yeah. So good. Well, spectacular. Yeah, so I love Obi-Wan, and I particularly love it for Leia. And I love the like one of the things that we talked about when we were talking about the show, was the chance for Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen to like be appreciated by Star Wars
Yeah,
fans, because the prequel trilogy just had so many people who were not fans for mostly cishet white boy incel reasons, but also a little bit for valid reasons of just how racist some of the stuff was. Um, but it's not their fault, right? Like, and so to have a show where they get to be those same characters in a way that we can love, and that we can love the show itself. I really like that.
100%. Um, well, that was it for our boot too. You can go and listen to all those just by being a Patreon supporter for $5 a month. Cheaper than a Disney Plus subscription now.
Oh
But you
yeah.
can watch all of those on Disney Plus, of course, but listen to our episodes on Patreon for $5.
Mhm.
All of them are up except for Andor, which we have yet to record.
Right. But it's
Um,
coming. Don't
yep,
worry. Just like our literature episodes.
yep, yep. So we'll get to our next character then, which is one I picked, and it is the Millennium Falcon. And the reason I picked it is because I fucking love the Millennium Falcon. It is like my favorite fictional spaceship of all time, tied with the Star Trek Enterprise refit from the 80s movies. Those are like tied as my two favorite fictional spaceships of all time. But
Also, I would just like to point out that both of us started out with non-human, non-humanoid, non-organic characters. And I love
yeah,
it.
it's almost like Pace had some intention when putting this outline together.
Details, details.
So, so its first canon appearance was in Revenge of the Sith, as far as chronology, but of course its original on-screen appearance was A New Hope. It's the YT-3000 class Corellian freighter. Corellia is this spaceship world that Han Solo also comes from. We see that in the Solo film. You can kind of see the origin of the ship in the film Solo, and we also get the kind of fun retconning of how Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs could make sense. And the Millennium Falcon gets this.
Do you say kind of fun retconning?
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous, but okay.
it's
Kind of
fun
fun.
too. I love Solo. I think Solo is such a fun movie.
I do.
Um,
I liked Solo too. I just think the way, like the hoops that George Lucas goes through to try.
well, this wasn't George Lucas. He was involved in Solo.
Okay, but like to try to retcon this particular thing, it's just like there's so much retconning already in Star Wars.
Fair, fair. I still like.
I think it's hilarious to be like, yeah, 12 parsecs.
That's why I said kind of fun. It is fun. It's fun and hilarious. Um, so also, I mean, this ship is so iconic to the point that in the sequel trilogy, Ray, while Ray and Finn do not recognize the Millennium Falcon at first because it's covered in a tarp and it just looks like a piece of junk. When they find out that that's what the ship is, they're like, "Oh, we know the ship," even though just because it became legendary during things like the Battle of Yavin 4 when it was there to help destroy the first Death Star, the Battle of Endor when it helped destroy the second Death Star, the Battle of Exegol, which we see in Star Wars Episode 9 when it is piloted by Lando and it brings the whole fleet with him. So a lot of cool stuff. Um, but one of the reasons why it counts as a character is I think a ship can absolutely count as a character and we make the rules, we can do whatever we want. But also,
One
it
million
literally,
percent.
yeah, but also it literally is three different droids forming a Millennium Collective, each of their personalities that are the onboard computer of the ship, which is really cool. V5T, ED4, and 337, of course, the droid from the film Solo. And if you're like me and you want to do a deep dive into literature, there's the canon novel Last Shot by Daniel Jose Older, which is kind of a fun Star Wars Lando and Han Solo adventure on the ship. And then also there's a From a Certain Point of View story, which we covered in our From a Certain Point of View Empire Strikes Back episode on
Woo-hoo.
the scene of Lando's being reunited with Millennium Falcon from the Falcon's perspective. And then finally, there's a non-canon novel by James Suzannah, which came out in 2008, that basically tells the origin of the Millennium Falcon from when it was first bought until it came into Lando's hand. So now to our game. And so this is really fun. This is where I share with Emily and Suzannah a one sentence summary. And if you recall from listening to our show, we do a one sentence summary for every movie and now BootTube we watch to basically just as it started as kind of a thing that Emily did as a joke, and it just became now our one of our ongoing traditions. So I will say the one sentence summary. Emily will pause for a few seconds to let listeners also see if they want to guess, or viewers, and then Emily will guess what movie that is from. And then adding, since we have Suzannah with us, Suzannah has to guess whether that one sentence summary comes from a guest, from Emily, or from Pace. And I will say 3 of them are from guests. The rest are split pretty evenly between Pace and Emily.
Okay. Okay. I
But
also have to figure out which they are.
yeah. And so these are for all the movies we covered and TV shows, including the Patreon movies and TV shows. So the first one, Leia saves the day.
So this is TV shows and
And movies, all of them. Anything we've covered that was Star Wars related this past season. Movies.
okay. I think that it's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Incorrect. It is
Is it
Star
the
Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Okay, fair. Fair.
And now, Susanna, who do you think came up with that summary? Emily or Pace?
Or yes. You would think that, wouldn't you?
Yep. Yeah, it was Emily. Yep. Love it.
Oh, just wait. Eventually you'll probably catch on and figure it out. But for now, yep. That was me.
Our next one is the one sentence summary is don't, just don't.
Oh no.
I like how like obscure we get with the summaries.
That feels
That
like an
one.
Emily thing to me. I don't know who it's about, but that feels like an Emily thing.
You're wrong. It is a Pace.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I
You're
forgot that we
melding
have
into one person.
I forgot that we have holiday specials. Was this the Star Wars holiday special?
Yep.
Yes.
I love how you got it from that. Yep. Good job.
Are we keeping score?
Oh, I'm
Taking
not.
sips for everyone.
Emily, I'll take score for Emily and how many Susanna gets right. So far, Susanna has 0 and Emily has
Susanna
1.
has 0. You're melding into the same person. What
That's
can I
because
say?
Susanna thinks more highly of
Alright.
my semi-short, semi-long-term recall than it is.
Or also your puns get stuck in my head forever because sometimes they're so bad. They're so bad.
It's true. It's true.
By so bad, I know you mean so good.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, that's what I meant.
Okay. Number 3 is Heidi in Space.
Okay. Heidi in space. Oh, oh, it is the second Endor one, which I think is the battle for Endor, right? I think.
I don't know.
Correct.
Yes!
Oh
Now,
my goodness.
Susanna, who said that? Emily or Pace? Heidi in space.
That feels like a pace. Okay.
Good job! Yeah, I was expecting Pace to include the Pace ones that are different from this, that make it more obvious. So, sorry. That might
Yep,
be
yep.
harder than I was thinking.
Now, the next one is a film about a mediocre small town dude who, for some reason, gets way more attention than he deserves. And then the vastly more competent but rather secondary female protagonist.
I mean, that's like Luke and Leia the entire time.
Uh-huh. So, which one? Which movie? Which iteration?
I think I'm going to have to say the first one, Star
Which
Wars.
yep, Star Wars. You are correct.
That feels like an Emily.
Now,
That feels like an Emily to me. Like 100%. Is it not?
trick question. Well, not really a trick. It is a guest. It was Jenny Korean who made that one.
Oh, well, that makes all the
Star
sense in the
Wars.
world. Love it. Love it. Okay.
Yep. Next one. R2's One Bot Action Dramedy.
Oh, clearly R2D2 is saving the day.
Which
R2's
isn't all of
one
them.
R2's one bot dramedy.
R2's One Bot Action Dramedy.
Action dramedy. R2. Which one? So many of them. Um, I don't feel great about my answer, but I'm going for Empire Strikes Back.
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It is Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
That feels like a pace. That definitely feels like a pace.
incorrect.
No!
We're doing terribly this
It had
time.
to be a guess
Last
then.
season we did so much better at this.
That was all Emily. All Emily.
Emily said dramedy.
I love R2. I'm always gonna give R2 credit where credit is due.
Oh, I
They
hang my head in
did.
shame. I hang my head in shame.
It's okay, me too. I didn't get it.
That's
It has
hysterical.
been, several months of this.
It's true. It's true. Okay, next
Okay.
one. Chosen family is better.
I feel like it's Rise of Skywalker,
Is there a bet there, or are you just saying, or
but
is that your
I also feel like it's not. I'm also like going back up and down through the options. It should be Rise of Skywalker, but there's also other ones that it would be appropriate for.
It is in fact Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yes! I got it.
It is in fact what?
Rise of Skywalker.
Can you repeat the quote again?
Chosen family is better.
That feels like an Emily. Yes. Okay.
That is also the one that
Wait.
Susanna, Brooke, and I have not watched. Susanna watched the beginning and then fell asleep, but we still have to rewatch. We still have to watch that because they have not watched that whole one. So we'll have to, yeah.
Okay, the next one is anything to resist fascism.
I mean, that's a good one for Andor, but I know it's not Andor because we have not actually done Andor yet. Um, The Last Jedi?
Close.
The Force
But
Awakens.
no. No. Rogue One.
What? Mm, yeah. We didn't have guests on the Bluetooth on the You're welcome.
True. That's what happens when you do a podcast for together for 2.5 years.
Uh-huh. That was
Okay.
Rogue One. That makes sense for Rogue One. So much more sense. Yeah.
Well, our next one then is baby slugs are still cute and worth saving.
Ooh, Clone Wars.
TV or movie though.
Oh, that's the movie.
Yep. Now, Susan. Yep. Very good. Yep. Next one is grief affects people in different ways.
Part of me wants to say Ahsoka, but I also want it to be the one like about Leia and how Turn of the Jedi or Ahsoka. Which one? Ahsoka.
Nope. It is a TV show though, Star Wars Rebels. Because the
Oh,
episodes we covered are the one after um Kanan Jarrus died.
right. Right. I keep thinking about it like more holistically instead of like these specific episodes. Okay, okay.
Oh god, that could be either one of you.
This one I'm pretty sure I know who it was.
I mean, I hear Emily say it all the time, so I'm gonna go with Emily.
What do you think, Emily?
I think so.
Nope, that's a
Dang
pace.
it! This is ridiculous. R2, I need your help. Help. Okay.
Okay,
R2's
next one. Two Jedi are better than one, even when the one is awesome.
I don't even remember which ones we've already done. I want to say that it is The Force Awakens. I know.
It is Ahsoka. which you had already guessed. But
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay.
Okay, say it one more time. The whole
Two
sentence.
Jedi, two Jedi are better than one, even when the one is awesome.
That feels like a pace. No? What is this game? You invited me on here. It's just to humiliate me. It's terrible. I'm doing awful.
I mean, to be fair, I actually said half of these and was there for all of
So
them.
sad. It's so sad.
And I'm still doing terribly.
And also, Emily and I were different people when we did half of these because it was like a year ago. So
Also true. Also true.
the next one, I am pretty sure that you are going to get. Chewie gets a pet.
Solo.
That is
Yep.
Emily. That is definitely Emily. Right? Yes? Please say yes.
No.
Oh my god, but Emily says that Chewie has a pet all the time! Emily,
Who do
are
you think I
com-
got it from?
Okay.
They got it from Pace.
Okay, so what's happening here is all your cool things are coming from Pace. Is that what's happening?
That
Not
track.
all of them, but that one for sure. Yes.
Okay. Next one. Emily will definitely know who the next two are from, but Susanna might not. So our next one, space is cloned.
I'm gonna go ahead and say Attack of the Clones.
Correct.
I almost said Clone Wars and I was like, wait, no. Attack of the Clones. Yep.
Space's clone? Is that a
Yep.
guest? I'm going with guest.
That's Pace.
So confused. Okay.
All good. It's all good. Next one, space is rebooted.
Mm, Phantom Menace. No. It is
Good
The
guess.
Force Awakens that time.
It is. It is. Who did that one, Susanna?
Think about who did the last one.
I don't know how that helps. Um,
The last one was Space is Rebooted, and this one is no. The last one was Space is Cloned, and this one is Space is Rebooted.
see, I'm gonna guess you because you reboot everything if you can't figure it out.
Nope, that was Pace.
Almost every one sentence summary Pace did this season is A, super short, like 2 to 3 words, and B, has space in it. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
That's not going to help for the rest of them that are Pace ones. So.
I know, but I just like
Okay.
gotta like let that out.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. So
Oh gosh.
next one. Oh. Han starts the movie cold and ends the movie cold.
Okay. I think it is Empire Strikes Back.
Correct.
Yes.
That feels like a Pace one to me.
Nope, this one was a guest. It was
Okay.
Pastor
just say-
Beth Wartick.
Okay.
Yep. I was gonna say it does not feel like a me one. So yes, Beth Wartick. Solid, solid.
Okay, 4 left. Jar Jar Binks accidentally saves the day.
The Phantom Menace.
Yep.
That's. I don't know.
Jar Jar Binks accidentally saves the day.
I'm sorry, it still feels Emily because they used to like
It
Jar
is?
Jar Binks.
It is.
Okay.
It's because I
I
secretly
get
always loved
one.
Jar Jar Binks when I was a kid and didn't know about all the racism stuff in that movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm.
Um, the second to last space movie.
I mean, it should be The Last Jedi.
Mhm.
That's a terrible summary.
Thanks. Oh, whoops, that gave it away.
So, Susanna, who did that one?
Yep, that was
Hmm.
me. Okay. I fucking love Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yep. Now, Susanna, who do you think swears on the podcast more, Emily or Pace? That can give you
Also, who
the
do you think loves Obi-Wan Kenobi more? Me or
That's
Pace?
yeah. That's the thing. I feel like Pace swears more, but you love Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I
You
maybe.
seem
appreciate
to like him.
Obi-Wan Kenobi more than I
Yeah,
used to.
yeah. The swearing
But
it
if
gives
I
it
were
to
giving one
Pace.
sentence summary about Obi-Wan Kenobi, it would involve Leia.
That's
Mhm.
true. I mean the swearing is. I'm gonna have to go with Pace then because Pace is the swearer.
Okay, last
Yep.
one.
What's my one sentence summary for Obi-Wan Kenobi? It
I don't
had
have.
Leia in it, right?
Yeah, it did.
No, I want to see.
The last one. Hippogriff versus Batman.
Okay, for the record, my one sentence summary on Obi-Wan Kenobi was Leia and Lola save Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yep,
Just
that
for the
track.
record. Okay, Hippogriff versus Batman.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think we did Caravan of Courage, but that feels like teddy bears, not.
I don't think we had a one sentence summary for that one.
That explains it. That explains it. Um, Hippogriff versus Batman. Who would be a hippogriff?
Remember, some of these were based on a few episodes of a show.
It's true. It's true. And now that you have given me the hint that it's a show, it's not Rebels because that was about grief. The Clone Wars episode. Clone Wars.
Yep.
Yes.
Last one, Susanna, Emily or Pace. Who calls Athena Batgirl as a matron?
My Athena.
Uh-huh.
My Athena. Emily calls her Batgirl.
Yep. So that was all in Emily's summary. If it was, if it was Superman, it would have been a Pace summary because Superman, Pace loves Superman, but
But Batman's not exactly a good thing.
I hide my head in shame. I hide my head in shame.
Wait, what's the
so
final score out
yep,
of how many and how many do we get?
out of 18, and Emily got 13 out of 18,
Okay.
and
2/3.
she got
I'll take
7
it.
out of
7. I thought I had like 2.
18.
See,
Okay.
better than you thought.
It felt like 2. Okay. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Nice. Nice. Um, okay. I love that game. I love when we do it. Usually we don't have quite as many episodes.
Yeah.
or shows to go through. But yeah. So our third character is the one, the only Yoda. Because how can you not have the one who says, do or do not, there is no try. Um, so I feel like Yoda in the original trilogy is like wise words in a weird but consistent, despite what many fans say, sentence structure pattern. Like, he's supposed to be the wise one, but he's also kind of goofy and funny. Um, and
Hmm.
like poking at Luke. And Yoda and R2 know each other, but act like they don't
Yep. Yep.
because they got jokes.
It's
They got
true. It's true.
jokes. Um, but then when we jump back to the prequel trilogy, it's the same sentence structure minus most of the wisdom. Like
Mhm.
it feels like he's more saying the things because he has to say the things to move the plot along to get through all the things in the first three movies, in the three prequels. And I will give him credit where credit is due. He is more resistant to the militarization of the Jedi. So kudos there. Wisdom there that the Jedi should not be becoming military, despite the fact that they're already police who already, do we want police? No. Hence my shirt, which you can't see, but it says justice over jails. If I lean back any further, it'll fall out of my chair. Um, and particularly, Pace, you reminded me of the particular scene at the end of Attack of the Clones, right?
Yep.
Where the clones come out and save a bunch of save particularly Obi-Wan and Anakin and Leia and Padme,
Hmm.
right? And Mace calls it a victory, and then Yoda says that it's not a victory, um, because he says it's not a victory, and then says that the Clone Wars have just begun,
Yeah.
basically. You said it better, so but
Begun the Clone Wars has is in his unique way of speaking.
yeah. Um, Also you got really quiet, just so you know.
Oh, hopefully
Um,
this is better.
yeah. And then in the sequel, Yoda becomes a ghost. And also there's lightning that he can wield,
Yep.
manipulate, use, direct. We don't really know. Um, yeah. The other places he shows up, he's really shitty to Ahsoka in Clone
Yep.
Wars. And I mean, none of the Jedi Council are good to Ahsoka in Clone
True.
Wars, but we expect better from Yoda because we hold Yoda to a higher standard because we put him on a pedestal and not just so that he can be seen at face level like everybody else. Um, yeah. And then we get, of course, Grogu, Baby Yoda, who's not actually Baby Yoda, but we definitely call him that. And he will forever be Baby Yoda to me. So, yeah. Those are my very important, very deep Baby
Yeah.
Yoda thoughts.
Um, I love that George Lucas, one of the things he has long insisted on is that Yoda's species and homeworld will never be revealed. And that's carried through even to the um, Disney era of owning it. We do know Grogu is of the same species, and we also know Yaddle, who we see in the Phantom Menace and some of the books,
Mm.
also
Mhm.
of Yoda's species. But Yaddle, interestingly, does not speak in Yoda's peculiar way of speaking. He speaks basic the way typical humans do. So I always thought that was interesting. What
Yeah.
Yoda is older than Yaddle, so he may have learned to speak. He's about 200 years older.
Ancient,
Yeah.
whatever.
And Yoda and Yaddle, but Yoda especially, are both reoccurring characters in the High Republic books. We're going to talk about that, do a little bit of a deep dive into that in our Star Wars Lit Retro.
Mhm.
He also is in the non-canon novel Yoda Dark Rendezvous by Sean Stewart, and he's in the Young Jedi show, another show we didn't cover,
Mm.
but it's on Disney
Yeah.
Plus. A good show.
Mhm.
Guess we'll get to the fourth character, which is my pick, and I put these two together because they are both Jedi and they were both Jedi Masters on the Jedi Council.
Mhm.
So this is Obi-Wan, who is one of my favorite characters. He first his first canon appearance was Phantom Menace, but of course, first on screen was Star Wars, the original. Um, I love how when we first meet him in Phantom Menace, he is a Padawan, and then he eventually passes his trials in the 19 when he's in his like early 20s, shortly after they count his duel with Darth Maul as his passing of the trials. He was Qui-Gon's apprentice, and then he took on Anakin as an apprentice. And I just really love him as a character. I love how, even with the fall of the Jedi Order, even with the fall of the galaxy, he's always true to his moral code and very much has this deep connection with the Force and cares very deeply about people, not just he's not as bureaucratic as a lot of the other Jedi Council members are. He always kind of keeps that connection to the people he's actually trying to help and serve and stuff. And so even though he is the Jedi are cops, he is one of the ones that I think is trying to reform it to be better than that. And
Mhm.
I am an abolitionist. I'm not necessarily saying that's possible in our world, but at least in the Star Wars fictional universe, I like that he is not drinking all the Jedi Kool-Aid.
Mhm.
Um,
Also, he's part of a wonderful polycule.
yep, true, very true.
I
Very
am
true.
representation. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I really have loved reading. I actually got hooked on reading Star Wars books about a year and a half ago because I started reading some of the Obi-Wan books because he's always been one of my favorite characters. So I read Padawan by Kirsten White, detailing his time as in about like 5 to 10 years before Phantom Menace. And then I read Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray,
Hmm.
which takes place shortly before um, Phantom Menace. Then Brotherhood by Mike Chen, which takes place during the Clone Wars and is Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship. The Living Force by John Jackson Miller, great book. And then the non-canon I just started reading. It's not canon anymore, but Kenobi by John Jackson Miller, which took place some between Revenge of the Sith and the A New Hope, kind of the same time period as the Obi-Wan TV show took place.
So
So
is
yeah,
that not canon anymore? I don't understand how they decided what was canon and what
so
wasn't.
it's very easy to think of any theatrical release Star Wars film
Hmm.
is canon, and
Right.
then any book and TV series that took that happened after Disney bought Lucasfilm is canon. Anything before is
Oh,
not, with one exception of the Clone Wars TV series. That is still canon. But everything else before Disney bought is not canon, unless it is
huh.
a theatrically released film.
Interesting. Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Yep. So now we'll get into our major themes. So these are, we're not going to talk about them because you can go back and listen to them, but these are just kind of the things that we notice as we're covering all 1.5 million movies, Star Wars movies we've covered that just keep reoccurring again and
Hmm.
again.
Yeah. Racism and sexism come up in, I'm pretty sure, every single
Yep.
episode covering this. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. There is plenty of it everywhere. Hmm.
For
Hmm.
sure. For sure.
Also, droids can be force sensitive. That's an ongoing conversation, but it's a one-sided conversation because we basically both agree.
Yeah.
or at least space does not disagree with me. Yeah,
No, I agree.
yeah,
I've
and they're
noticed
the
things,
best.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. I've noticed things like hope and grief and rebellion all coming up again and again. And
Mm-hmm.
this notion of empire and capitalism, both how the capitalism was part of the downfall of the republic, but also it was a machine of the empire. So like capitalism is just bad no matter who's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
and
for
then
that one too, I think, which I forgot to write down, but the ways that the trilogies actually are speaking to something that is happening when they're released in like the time period of when they're released, that is in fact political and does critique not just empire and capitalism within the world of Star Wars, but also the world in which we live.
yep, yep. And then we talk about it in detail again and again, but I just really one of the reasons why I wanted to cover Star Wars way back in when Emily first hopped on the podcast and we started talking about future seasons, we pretty quickly landed on doing Star Wars. Part of it is
Mhm.
because of the religion of Star Wars. There's quite a bit of religion in this, including the Force religion of both the Jedi and the Sith. And then kind of within that reoccurring themes that I was not quite expecting how much would come up, but is this notion of oneness or deification, theosis are kind of the theological words we use for that, of
Mhm.
uniting with God, in Christian context or in Star Wars context, uniting with the Force, both after death, kind of uniting with the living Force, but also part of what Jedis meditate is on how to connect to the Force and let the Force flow through them.
Mhm.
So, next character to trace is the owner of Han Solo, Chewie himself, who is a Wookiee. Wookiee speaks Sherlock, and he first appears in Revenge of the Sith in chronological order, but his first on-screen appearance was A New Hope. And I just love like Chewbacca's fun, endearing. He's funny, even though he doesn't speak Galactic Basic in Universe or English, and they never subtitle what he's saying. Like he just has such great comedic timing and can express his emotions and facial expressions and just even one growl or whatever that I just really love. Um, but um, he Wookiees live to be like 500 or 600 years old, so Chewbacca is like middle aged by the time we meet him in Star Wars, the main trilogy. And we know he has kids from the holiday special, which have in fact been brought into canon through some of the books talk about.
Okay.
So so he has a wife and I think two children, and then also his wife's father lives with them
Yep.
all um
Don't. Just
yeah,
don't. Yeah.
on Kashyyyk, which is his planet. So but there are a few books that focus on him quite a bit. Aftermath Life Debt by Chuck Wendig, which is canon as part of the Aftermath trilogy. And it focuses on the liberation of Kashyyyk from the Empire in the days after the Empire. And Chewbacca
Mm.
plays a central role in that. The
Mhm.
Mighty Chewbacca and the Forest of Fear by Tom Engelberger is a middle grade book, but it's just so fun. It's just this cute little short adventure that Chewbacca takes. And then in non-canon stuff, he appears heavily in Han Solo Adventures by Brian Daley, Han Solo Trilogy by A.C. Christman, Scoundrels by Timothy Zahn. So anything that has Han Solo in it, Chewbacca, is probably going to be there too. Because
Right,
he
because
is
how do
Han
you
Solo's owner. Han
talk
Solo.
about somebody's pet and not mention them? It's not like you're greeting them, which we greet dogs all the time and ignore their humans, but
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. Now to the moment we've all been waiting for, ranking the movies and getting our official podcast ranking. So, Emily, what is your least favorite? The in our list, which is in 15th place. There's that many movies.
Star Wars Holiday Special. Even though, well, mhm. And you?
Holiday special. Woo!
Even though we love Chewie,
Yep.
the special did not do him justice at all.
It
He
was
deserved better.
it was so bad. It didn't know what it wanted to be. It was trying to be a variety show, but just did not work. And Leia at the end with this weird like takes over the Life Day celebration while she's
Yeah,
also talking about how we should celebrate, how we are invited to celebrate, so we have to be respectful, but let me just take over the celebration and sing a song.
right?
Like, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, it was so
yeah.
weird.
It was bad. Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, my turn first, right? So
Mm-hmm.
next is I rank Battle for Endor, the Ewoks #2.
I also ranked Battle for Endor.
Which means we can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
14th
Killing off
place.
a little kid's family. Really?
Right,
And then Space Santa.
right.
I think Space Santa was part of my one sentence summary.
It was indeed. Mine, of course, was Heidi in space. I don't, it's just so bad. The
Yeah.
first one was bad, but this one, bad,
It was
bad.
worse. It was worse. Like I watched Caravan of Courage. I've watched now like 2 or 3 times. It's ridiculous. Way too many times. And Battle for Endor is worse.
And
I'm so glad I only had to watch it once.
it has like the worst, like the budget for that was just a shoestring. Like I know it's Star Wars, it's a big name, but after Caravan of Courage didn't do that great. Like it did fine, but not great. They're just like, we'll just throw this together and no budget is not good.
Yeah. But
Oh.
you can tell. Yeah.
Okay. What's your 13th pick then, Emily?
Caravan of Courage.
Mine, surprise, surprise. Caravan of Courage.
Wow.
The
Yeah.
other evil special.
Yep. I mean, the girl is great.
Yeah,
I love her.
Sindel.
She's adorable. Sindel is like brilliant and right and all of the things.
Then we have Jace, her brother.
Oh, he's the worst. He is basically a young Luke Skywalker, but not the kind of young Luke Skywalker that we see in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Kind of young Luke Skywalker that is the Luke Skywalker that we meet in Star Wars, but younger.
Yep.
And that's like realistically who he's supposed to be.
To me, though, it is not a surprise that the 3 TV specials are all rated the lowest. They
Yeah.
just don't have the time or energy or effort put in that the rest of the films did. So
I will say Wicket, spectacular.
adorable. And our revenge, no, Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view. I don't remember if one of us picked Wicket stories or not, but whenever we record that and air it, one of those
I
things
think
that's fun about is the Wicket story in that and the Ewok
yeah,
stories make some of these Ewok specials and the Ewok TV show canon, which is really fun because it starts referencing it. And since that's canon, of course, then it means that the other stuff is canon.
yeah. Yeah, I think we have at least one Ewok story in Return of the Jedi. Yeah. So,
Now,
Pace, what is your 12th favorite?
the Phantom Menace. What about you?
No, it's not. You skipped.
Oh, did I skip?
Mm-hmm.
Kidding. Attack of the Clones. That's my 12th favorite. My least favorite of the theatrical releases.
Mm-hmm. Um, Clone Wars was mine.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Now we get to 11.
Mm-hmm.
And I messed up our official ranking. That's okay. But our 11th is.
The
What?
Phantom Menace.
Me too.
Woo woo.
We can talk about it, even though it's on the next slide. But anyway, go for it. Why did you put this one here?
I put this one there because there's so much racism.
It's
Like,
true.
I used to really like it when I was a young, ignorant white kid. Um, but I, my love for Jar Jar Binks is complicated in ways that I had not anticipated as a child.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not a fan of George Lucas. Like, we talked about it in the episode. This is what happens when George Lucas is not restrained by anyone else.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like it's out of the original, I mean the prequel trilogy, for me, it's the second worst. And the prequel trilogy is kind of rated on the bottom, as you can tell for me so far.
Yeah.
So that it I don't like, I'll talk about Attack of the Clones, why I like it even less than this, but Phantom Menace, it's it's fine. Like it's boring, it's not good. The kid is cute and stuff, and I love meeting Padme and all that, but like it's not a good movie. It's not a compelling story. And it's kind of like you said, like George Lucas just without anybody to help edit down his ideas, like there's the amazing team for the original trilogy. I feel like it just did not work as well as the other ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Okay. So this would be 10, 11.
11, 12.
Okay, whatever. One of those. Mine is Clone Wars.
Um, Mine is Attack of the Clones. Look at all the cloniness.
Yeah, which means we can talk about Attack of the Clones and Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Ah,
Which one are you talking about first?
I rated we rated them both around the same. So I guess we'll start with Attack of the Clones. And the reason I had this as my least favorite, the prequel trilogy, is because the gross comp-heading relationship between Padme and Anakin does not work. It's creepy, it's gross, he's
Mm-hmm.
possessive, and it just really I the movie is so cringe for me because of that. I love some of the side plot stuff with Obi-Wan going to Camino and discovering the Clone Wars army. There's that cool battle at the
Mm-hmm.
end, but beyond that, it's just very the love story takes center place, and it's just doesn't work for me. And it's gross, and Anakin is
Yeah.
so gross and creepy and abusive.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. It is very much forcing a relationship that doesn't have the chemistry and doesn't have the like there's not a good reason for them to be together. Um there's not chemistry, there's not like any of those things. And yes, Obi-Wan has like a little bit more, so we get to see him more, but yeah, agreed. Agreed. And then for Clone Wars, I probably should have ranked Clone Wars higher, but was having trouble remembering what Clone Wars was. But I mean it's just it's a like military secret ops kind of movie
Yeah.
with like weirdo Jabba the Hutt's kid who never comes back ever again stuff. Yeah.
And it's just so like the animation is so bad. I don't like the Clone Wars animation style. But it is Ahsoka's first appearance, and I rated it highly because I think I talked about on the show the book that by Karen Chavez just does such a good job of filling out the story, and the book makes that movie so
Hmm.
much better. So I rated it higher.
Yeah. Yeah. I do love a good Ahsoka. So yeah. Um the I don't know, what's the next number?
Seventh place, it looks like. No, seventh from top, so that's nine from bottom. Nine. Yep, ninth place. Who's going first? Me? Rise of Skywalker, episode 9.
Mm. Empire Strikes Back, episode 2. These ones were all in the middle, and episode 5. Sorry. Oh, I can't talk about it yet. Okay.
Yep, can't
Episode
talk
5,
about it yet.
Empire Strikes Back. And in 8th place, I have Revenge of the Sith, episode 3.
I have a Star Wars story, Solo.
Mm.
Now to 7th place, I have episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
And I have episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
This means we can talk about Revenge of the Sith, which gets 9th place in our ranking. It's for me, it's my favorite of the prequel trilogy. So that's why I rate it so highly. And my favorite of the prequel trilogy is higher than my least favorite of the sequel trilogy. But still, none of those quite make it to the original trilogy for me. So that's why it's kind of rated there.
Gotcha. Um, I put Revenge of the Sith where I did because it's the prequel trilogy. I did think that the ending was really interesting, the way that they did it, and I think they did it really well. All of these ones that are like in the middle are in the middle. Like there was not a clear, it was literally, 2 hours, well, no, 3 hours ago when I was like, okay, what order am I putting these in? I don't even remember anything. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I will say about Revenge of the Sith that, again, this is an example of the book making it much better. And since you mentioned the end, I'll just say that final fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin on Mustafar still is just so visually stunning and so well done. One of the better special effects sequences in the prequel trilogy. And the way that it is now called back in the Obi-Wan series is so good too. So
Yeah, I do like that part. Agreed.
so in 6th place,
I have
yeah,
Rise of Skywalker.
which means we can talk about it. But I have episode 6, Return of the Jedi, so we can talk about both of them. So they're tied in 7th place for the official podcast ranking. Which do you want to start with?
We can talk with Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
First off, it's not entirely everybody's fault, right? Part of it is the main like one of the two main protagonists for that episode died before filming. So Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, died, and so they couldn't do what they supposedly were planning to do, which was have it be a very Leia forward movie. So it's not their fault for that, but at the same time, they went back and retconned so much to create this artificial relationship between Rey and Kylo Ren, to give Rey this very special, fancy parentage, when part of a huge part of what I loved about Rey was that she was an ordinary person. And changing that sucks. It's just bad. Don't do it.
Yep. For me, I just the first time I watched the movie, I just absolutely did not like it. But the second time, and covering it on the podcast, reading the book makes it better too. I had some healing with it, so it's no longer like super bad down on my list, but it is still just it's fine. Like it's super actiony, it's super vanilla. Like they really did like a hard left after or hard right
I was
after
gonna say it was not a hard left.
Last Jedi. And so some of it works, some of it doesn't, but it just seems to be intentionally like a very actiony kind of a lot of like fan service, not much plot, just let's have a
Yep.
good time in the movie. So
Yeah. And it showed, like, yeah. And
yeah.
it's unfortunate.
Now to Return of the Jedi. Um, I love Return of the Jedi. As a kid, it was my favorite because I love the Ewoks. I love Han Solo. I love Leia. I love the Millennium Falcon. I love Luke's internal battle with himself and the dark side while having the external battle with Vader. It's just so well done. And the space scene and the second Death Star looks really cool, like halfway in complete and not fully complete and stuff. And all that was practical effects too, like so well done. The Rancor looks bad, but the rest look pretty good. So like it's high up there, but it just isn't quite as good as the ones I have below it. So or
Yeah.
above it.
Yeah. I Return of the Jedi Return of the Jedi for me felt a little bit like Star Wars 2.0, right? Where it's like, oh no, a Death Star.
Yeah.
And it's also like, oh no, massive amounts of grief and trauma for siblings, and one gets to carry all the emotional weight of the other, right? That Leia continuously is doing so much more emotional labor and is out of the loop and intentionally left out of the loop multiple times over. And it like it's not quite as bad as the first Star Wars movie where, her entire planet gets destroyed and Luke is like, "Oh, this old guy I kind of knew died slash disappeared." And he gets all the sympathy, right? Like that it's not that bad,
Hmm.
but it's also bad. Like the make sure she knows there was some good in me, right? Like, no, I don't want my deadbeat evil father, after he dies, I don't want to know that he had some good in him.
Yep. Yep. And this is one place where I will shout out the book Bloodline just because it really does a lot of that in turn. Not just Bloodline, both Bloodline and Princess and the Scoundrel do a lot of. Leia finally gets her due, and we finally get to hear how she feels about all of this stuff since the movies, as you're saying, focus on Luke's emotional journey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we can move then to five. Our personal fifth favorite for me is The Force Awakens.
And for me is Star Wars.
Woo! A New Hope to be clear, but we're going with the original name, so Star
Yes.
Wars.
Yep. And then fourth,
Me is Star Wars: A New Hope. And for you?
Solo, which is weird. I understand that it's weird.
Okay, okay. Well, which do you want to talk about first? Star Wars or Solo?
Let's talk Star Wars.
Okay. It's the original. It's the one that started all. So for me, like it gets honorary placement high up there for that. And also Leia is so amazing in that like from beginning to end. Just like how she is mocking Tarkin in the beginning and I
Mm-hmm.
recognize your foul stench when you came on board and like is able to resist the Imperial torture and stuff, gives them a
Yeah.
false name for the planet, but still gets her home planet destroyed and still ends up like running the rebellion in place of her
Mm-hmm.
father who was destroyed on Alderaan. Like it's just so good. And yeah, there's definitely flaws and stuff, and it definitely shouldn't have be mostly focused on Luke because Leia's the better character. But we also
Mm-hmm.
meet Obi-Wan and all like it's just so much in there. So I love it.
Yeah. Definitely Leia is the greatest redeeming factor of this original movie, as well as, R2 and C3PO, and I think it does a good job of following those protagonists. It does not do a good job of crediting those protagonists and really honoring them, as you kind of said. But I do think it does a good job of that. And then the rest is just like so much sexism in particular. It's, so many white people, but the sexism is just like,
Yeah,
ugh. Yeah.
sexism and racism, all of it.
Yep. Um, The other one is Solo, which before we started this podcast, Solo was so far down on my list. And I was like, no, no, we don't need another movie about some cis white guy. And then Pace enlightened me and opened my mind to the reality that Han Solo is actually just Chewie's pet. And this is the story of how Chewie gets his pet. And from that perspective, it really is golden.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And it gives space for Han Solo shot first,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
has been retconned.
And I love Lando in it. Such great
Mm-hmm.
class, Donald Glover as Lando too.
Yeah.
And so it's just, for me, it's really fun. I didn't rank it that high because it's just this, for me, a really fun action
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't quite have the emotional gravitas and some of the other cool stuff that I resonate
Clearly,
the other
you are
ones.
forgetting the importance of pets
Pets
in
are
your life.
important. I have two,
There is
and
great emotional gravitas. For
Millennium
pets.
Falcon also. So I do not say that lightly because I love L3 and I love, or is that it? Yeah, and the Millennium Falcon. So, but
Mm-hmm.
well, now to number 3 in our ranking. I put Rogue One as my third favorite Star Wars movie of all time.
And I put The Force Awakens. And now
Which
we can
means,
talk about The Force Awakens,
yay!
which is the first of the sequel trilogies.
Yep.
And I I really love so much about this. Like it takes the sexism and the racism of the earlier movies and calls it out, right? Like when Finn grabs Rey's hand so that they can run, and Rey is like, why are you holding my hand? Because she can run
Yeah.
better without it, right? When he keeps trying to help her and she's like, I am a perfectly competent human being. Thank you very much. Um, yeah, all of that stuff. So I think it does a really good job at that, and it is the introduction of a new polycule, and who doesn't love those?
Love it. Love it. For all those reasons, I love it. I ranked it a little bit lower though than Star Wars and Rogue One because, excuse me, good. Sorry. Sneeze.
Hmm.
I wasn't able to mute in time. Anyway, I ranked it a little bit lower than Star Wars and Rogue One, only because it is now the third time we've seen the same plot of there's a giant space station that's going to blow up something. Let's try to do a last ditch effort to defeat it. And so because of
Hmm.
that, I'm like, I'm fine. It's a
Yeah,
requel.
that's fair. That's fair. Um,
Number 2, though, second favorite.
my second favorite is Rogue One.
And mine is Empire Strikes Back, which means we can talk about both.
Hmm. Rogue One is absolutely fucking phenomenal.
Agreed.
I love Rogue One. I love one of the things that was pointed out before I even saw the movie was that this is the first time in Star Wars and in like in and for many people the first time at all that someone with a Latino accent that is not exaggerated is portrayed in film.
Yeah.
And I don't think we give enough credit to like how important that is and how big of a deal that is.
Mhm.
Um, Also, it's just a really great, like, it's a really great characters and like with the knowledge that you have to like fit in all of these characters who all have to die.
Yep.
It actually does that really well. There's a good plot, there's good tie-ins, like you get all of the things that you need to get. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. For me, the top 3 are like hair's breadth apart. So like
Mhm.
Rogue One is number 3 for me. And I l- love it for all the reasons you said. I love how it ties in directly into the beginning of A New Hope and like how the
Mhm.
end just goes right into that.
Yeah.
So well done. Um, but the reason Empire Strikes Back, and now we'll talk about this one, is a little bit higher for me, is that Empire Strikes Back, I don't know, it just is such a seen it for the first time when I was a kid watching Star Wars. So there's a little bit of nostalgia in this element. But
Hmm.
the way seeing Star Wars for the first time, not knowing about Return of the Jedi and not knowing what's going to happen, and having it end on such a kind of unknown note about what's going to
Hmm.
happen in the future. It's when we meet uh, Yoda for the first time. It's when we meet Lando for the first time. It takes everything we love about the first Star Wars movie and just like deepens it and makes it
Hmm.
better, I think. And we see more of the Force religion. And so for all those reasons, it's just really well done. It's a near perfect Star Wars film, if one can. So.
Yeah. I think if I had to re-rate these, I would put Empire Strikes Back higher than I put it. But um that's again me a couple hours ago trying to remember all of the Star Wars movies at once. I do love that there's snow.
Mm.
Um
Oh,
and for all of the original trilogy, the From a Certain Point of View books really brought it to life for me, and I really love that. Um and I love that Lando comes up in it and we get to meet Lando, like Yoda, all of those things. So it really is a good movie. Yeah.
agreed, agreed. Which gets to our last one.
Which we
Our
agree on.
yeah. So we can say at the same time, The
The
Last
Last Jedi.
Jedi.
We can't
Yay!
do it, say it at the same time on Zoom. It never
Yeah,
works.
never works. I
But
love
yes, it's so good. It has like it has Rey coming into her own, owning her identity and realizing that like her identity is not going to be a biological thing, and that this is right, this is part of where chosen family comes into play so much, because she is really owning her identity, and her identity that takes into account not just the Jedis of the past, but like what does it look like to be a user of the Force and to balance the Force? Because for so much of the Star Wars movies, it has been light side good, dark side bad. And I'm not saying that like becoming Darth Vader is good, but there is, and we see this in the Clone Wars episode. I think it's the Clone Wars episodes, or maybe it's the Rebels episodes, where we're on the planet with the like Trinity of the Force.
Clone Wars, yeah.
Um, what?
Clone Wars.
Yeah, Clone Wars. Right, we see that there is a balancing that needs to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and Rey gets that not from a like I like two different people, though she is open to like having that happen with Kylo Ren, but from a very intrinsic, like it is okay to feel your emotions deeply, and that can be part of your experience of the Force. And I really love that. She's just
I
fantastic. And all the characters, and Rose gets to actually
right.
like do stuff and not be basically written out like she is in the third
Yeah.
movie of the trilogy. Yeah.
Like I remember in theaters, like this is one of those movies that the theater experience is just as much part of the reason I love the movie as the movie itself. Another
Hmm.
one like this is Black Panther because I saw Black Panther in
Hmm.
Oakland and the movie begins in Oakland. So it's just like it was really cool to be in the audience for that. But this
Yeah.
movie, um, seeing it in theaters, that moment when Leia through the Force is able to come back into the ship after being blown out and just everybody, the audience erupting into cheers as that was happening, and it totally unexpected and stuff like that. The visual stuff, the red and white and the on the one planet, the mining planet, all the stuff about the Force is so cool.
Hmm.
Leia, or not Leia, Rey's visions that she has on the planet when she reaches out. And so just so well done. So I rated it a 13 out of 10, and you rated it a. This is the only one I remember the ratings, and usually I pull up the ratings, but I forgot, so sorry. But you rate it 11 out of 10. I rate it 13 out of 10. Like it's that good of a movie for
Yep.
us. So
Yeah. And I think this is part of what is wonderful about this. And that what, like, when I first saw it, I spent so much of the film because Carrie Fisher had already died, like months before it was released. And I was just like confused enough that I spent most of the film waiting for her to die. And so I
mhm.
had all this anxiety about something that never ended up happening. And so that experience of the first time I saw this movie was not great. But then since then, I've been able to rewatch it and know that she's not going to die. And it's been fantastic because I'm not caught up in that anxiety as well.
Well,
Mhm.
there you have it, our Star Wars official podcast ranking.
Mhm.
We have one more character to trace, and then after that, you'll get to hear what our which
Mhm.
season picks are. But first,
Yes. Speaking of Carrie Fisher, Carrie Fisher is the best and fantastic, and I loved when I got to, I think I listened to it on audiobook, but her autobiography, she narrates herself. So
one of several, but I think you're
yeah,
talking about the Princess Diarist.
I think so. It's the one, I think it's the one that came out right around when she died.
Yeah,
Um,
2 years before, like 2 years before. Yep.
I love Leia.
Mhm.
From the start. She's bold, she's smart, she's challenging, she's confrontational with Han because Han is an asshole. She is speciesist, which is weird and feels out of character for her story arc everywhere else, but she calls Chewbacca a walking carpet,
Mhm.
which she should know better based on everything else, and that feels more like a George Lucas thing than a Leia thing. Um, but yeah.
I
Um,
mean, I think it's okay since one of the things we like to do on the podcast is remind people that we shouldn't put people on pedestals. It's okay to show characters' weakness and growth. So,
yes. It just seems like, especially based on like who she is in Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm like, how could she be so polite and kind to droids and then call Chewie a walking carpet? You know,
the way many white people can be super kind to pets and then treat black people like they're something that they are not human.
it's true. It's true. Yeah. I just don't like that part.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's fair.
Yeah. Um, but and like she doesn't really show up in the prequel except for at the very end of the very last movie because and her birth was secret. So even when Luke was found out, Leia was kept secret in the original trilogy. Um, but I love also what Obi-Wan says that Leia is wise, discerning, kind-hearted, and those are qualities from her mother. So we see the way that Padme plays out in Leia, and we see Anakin as well, but
Yeah. I
Anakin's
mean,
an asshole by then, so meh. Um, and then in the sequel, she is the general, she is wise and compassionate. She doesn't, I think maybe it might be helpful if she said maybe a couple more things to reassure people that they have a plan. She didn't have to tell them the plan, but to be like, look, we have a plan. Let us do it.
that was more
But
Holdo
also,
because Leia was unconscious for most of that.
I mean, yes. But there was some stuff where I think she could have been a little bit more
Hmm.
forceful. Although I did love how forceful she was when she woke up.
Yep.
Just knocked Poe out. Um, but yeah. And also like the very last movie, as we mentioned, would have been so different,
Hmm.
especially for Leia, had Carrie Fisher not died, because they were working so hard to like put pre-recorded stuff from other movies into it and all of that stuff. Um, and so the movie had to be really different, and she didn't get to be her full self because the actress was dead.
Yep.
Uh, Also, I
Um,
love in Obi-Wan Kenobi that she is polite to droids, that she loves droids, Lola is, neutral good, is delightful. We love Lola. Um, and we see the glimpses of Leia being a rebel from the start. We see her force sensitivity, her intuition, her ability to like name these profound truths that are way beyond, that should be way beyond her years. Yeah. So, yay, Leia.
We'll talk more about these books a little bit in the book retro to come out, but just to name, there's a Leia trilogy. It's really well done. And Emily now can read them too. Probably not in time for a book retro, but
Yeah,
I'm
probably
excited
not, but I'm
to
super
talk about
excited to
them.
read them.
So Princess of Alderaan by Claudia Gray is a book that basically talks about Leia a few years before A New Hope, when she starts to figure out that her dad and mom might be involved in some sort of rebellion. And so she starts to investigate on that her own. Princess and the Scoundrel by Beth Revis takes place immediately after Return of the Jedi. So it's like Han Solo and Leia, these two generals in the rebellion who love each other and get married, but they also need to live into the new reality of the Empire has fallen, but there's now a power vacuum. What does that mean for us? That kind of stuff. And then Bloodline by Claudia Gray, which takes place about 5 years, maybe a little bit more, before The Force Awakens, and that is about Leia, this Leia investigating something that I won't reveal, spoilers for Emily, but she's investigating something, and to discredit her, someone releases to the Senate that she is the daughter of Darth Vader, and the ramifications that happen there. And then there's two non-canon books
Also,
that
we love Claudia Gray. Claudia Gray was our guest.
she was on our podcast. Amazing. Um, Timothy Zahn wrote Heir to the Empire series, and The Courtship of Princess Leia by David Farland are both two non-canon stories. I hate the title of Courtship of Princess Leia, just to say.
Yeah, that's weird.
For the record, I've not read the book. I hear the book is good, but poor choice in title, I think. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Emily and I don't even know what each other have picked yet. So
It's gonna be a surprise.
our next season, as we said, is going to be the witch season. And so it'll be season 7. And so Emily and I have each picked 5 movies that we are that we want to cover out of a list that we had made earlier.
I picked 7 just in case we get that far down.
Yeah, I have some backup choices. So
Glad we're both
we'll
on the
do
same page
5.
with this.
So 5 movies basically each. So our next season will be 10 episodes long, and we'll see which ones Emily picked and which ones Pace has picked. So do you want to start with your first pick?
Yes. My first pick is The Wizard of Oz.
I love it. That was also my first pick, which means I'm going to go with my second with my backup for that one, which is The Witches of Eastwick.
Nice. Okay, and then you have to do your second one, and then I do it. That way, if you pick some that I picked, I get to do my backups too.
Perfect. I like it. So my next choice is Haxan, which is a 1920s silent film about witches.
You just picked all the ones that you knew I would never pick. My next one is Matilda.
I love it. My next one. Oh, no, your next one now.
Oh, my next one is Blair Witch.
Ooh. I'm surprised you picked that. I love it.
There's like a story behind it for me, so.
I picked for my next one, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yes, that was one of mine, so thank you.
And then I guess I'll go for my next one. The Covenant, a gay witch movie. I'm so excited.
Okay. And then how many do we have left?
You should have two. I have one left.
Okay. And then my oh, my next one is Halloween Town because Halloween Town.
Okay. So then your last pick is,
I was hoping you would go last.
you want me to go last? I can go last. I mean, I can go next.
Yes, please.
Okay. My last, from the comments, we have no A Discovery of Witches, and I will say, since that's a TV show, it may be a boot tube.
Wait, I didn't. I had my TV shows separately.
Yeah, so that wouldn't count for this.
Yeah, so pick a movie.
I know. I was saying from the comments, we got a comment from a friend of the podcast, Suzannah, asking about that.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was confused.
my final movie is Suspiria, the 2018 remake slash kind of sequel to the original one, which we covered in season 4.
Mm, okay. Um, in that case, my final one is Practical Magic.
Okay, I like it. This is gonna be a fun season. Now,
Yeah.
for our list
How many of your movies did not make it on the list?
4, no, three. So,
I
I
just had
think what we should do is say which ones um were our alternates, and then
Ooh.
we can have our listeners pick which one of those we want to cover as a horror buff.
Yeah. Okay, my alternate was Beautiful Creatures, which I don't know anything about. It was from the like giant list that we had, and I was like, I don't know. So,
I love it.
yeah.
My alternates are Black Sunday, which is a 1960s witch movie, I think. The Love Witch, which is a fun kind of feminist romp kind of comedy, horror comedy. And then The Witches, either the original 90s movie or the remake with Anne Hathaway from a few years ago.
Is that the one with the V's?
No.
Oh,
That one we already covered in season 2 before you. So we'll do a movie commentary on that one so Emily can finally see it, but we already have an episode out.
I like that plan. Movie commentary it is.
Yeah, so let us know which of those 4 you want us to cover. Um, I'll
Or
make,
if you know of a different one, you can also put your bid in. But put your bid in now for the other one so we can get it all on the list.
yep. So I'll make a social media poll for people to vote, and we'll announce which one of those probably at our next retrospective, which one won, and what other
Yeah.
suggestions y'all might have.
Yeah. I have, just so you know, 3 TV shows already planned.
I love it.
Non-negotiable. Well, there's a little bit of negotiating with one optionally, but yeah. So our next I think Susanna has something to say.
Oh, just because like I can't comment in the comments without it coming up as the podcast, so I thought I'd put it in here. I would like to put in my vote for The Craft because of all of the bisexuals that were born from The Craft 90s.
That one was on our list. I love it. Yeah, we'll add that
Right.
too.
Popped it on for our voting. Sounds good.
Awesome. Well then, our next episode is another retrospective. We have 3 this season, believe it or not.
Woo-woo.
We are going to be covering Aliens, the Alien films. So in that one, we'll rank our Predator and Alien movies that we watch, and we'll also talk about some of the themes and stuff like that. So come back next week for that, and we'll also announce which one of those movies won to be for a horror buff tier.
As long as y'all vote. You gotta
Yes.
vote for us to announce.
Yep.
Hmm.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning into this live episode, or if you're listening to it um, later on your podcast feeds, thank you for listening. That's it for this episode. Extra special, amazing, awesome, super thanks to
Hmm.
Suzannah Porter, our slicer extraordinaire.
Woo.
Our theme music was by Matt May. Horror Nerds at Church releases seasonally on Thursdays. So a few more of these left to go. Please comment, rate, and subscribe to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, or in the video on Facebook if you're watching there.
Hmm.
You can support us on Patreon and get access to exclusive movie commentary episodes, BooTube episodes, and more bonus content by going to patreon.com/horror nerds at church. It is only $5 to sign up, so it is significantly cheaper than a brand new YT 3000 Corellian freighter.
So much cheaper.
Follow us on socials, Facebook and Insta at Horror Nerds at Church, and Blue Sky and Twitter at HNACPOD for all the latest updates about upcoming films, news, and other announcements.
It's also way cheaper than R2D2 because R2D2 is priceless. I'm just saying. There are some things that are priceless. R2D2, the Millennium Falcon,
BB-8.
BB-8. I love a good BB-8. Did not get enough airtime in this episode. I'm sorry, BB. I love you.
Well, until next time, which is which? Find out in season 7.
May the force be with you.